Hello, welcome back. So, this has been actually a long time in the making, and I've actually been holding off on making this profile because of the fact of clan collection and that we were getting some cards that I very much so needed as reprints, as well as one specific card that is very, very, very nice to have in this deck. So, let's just stop me rambling around. Welcome back. We're doing Nectar Asha Premium Deck Profile for the Clan Selection Volume 2 format for November 2021. So, of course, we're going to just start off with our starter. We got Ozu, regular V-Series starter. It's very nice. You get the +1 draw, and you get an extra quick shield token if you go second. It's very good. You get some extra cards in hand that you can just drop for costs later, like for your PGs and all that stuff. Very nice. I prefer running the V-Series starter. Next up, we're going to go into our trigger lineup. So I'm going to go over some of the old stuff before we go over the new stuff. So I run 4 of the draw PGs as they are quite nice to have. You need your PGs. I want to run the draw ones. You could run the crit sentinels if you want extra crit pressure. I feel like we get enough crit as it is already in this deck, and it's not really needed, so I run the draw ones instead. That way we don't have to worry about those very, very, very large column numbers, and we could just drop one of these, drop the quick shield if we go second. We are all good for that attack. Next up, I am running 4 of the Premium Collection crits, the ones that give power and draw 1. And 4 of these because we want to be boosting our Vanguard up as high as possible, getting as big as power columns as we can so we can both draw shield out and draw those PGs out so we can just go for the one-hit KO towards the end of the game. So run 4 of those. 4 happy luckies. Next up, I run 3 of the other Premium Collection crit, the the Stride Fodder crits. So these ones count as grade 3s if you discard them for Stride. I only run 3 of these as we're not doing traditional striding as is. We're mainly doing the Superior Stride from Sandrine's skill, as I will go over later. So we don't need to run 4 of these. The only time we are doing a regular stride is if we go into our Lieta turn, or if we go into one of our backup strides, which I will also go over later, or if we somehow get to GB8 and then we go into Lindros Premier. And if you're going to Lindros Premier, I don't know why you do that. You basically, at that point, you basically won. If you're at GV8 and you go into Lindros Premier, power columns are going to be absolutely massive, and you win. You just win if you go into Lindros Premier, basically. But half the time, we don't even get to GV8. We end at like maybe GB4, GB5, maybe GB6. So that's that. And then, of course, we have the Starkiller Overtrigger, because Overtriggers are broken. What are you doing if you're not running an Overtrigger unless you're playing Ultima? Yeah, Starkiller Overtrigger, you get 100 million power, it's got that 50k shield, and its extra effect as an Overtrigger is it's a rainbow trigger. You get 1 crit, you get your front row gets plus 10k, and then you draw a card, and then you heal a damage if you have more damage in your opponent. It's a rainbow trigger. Starkiller Overtrigger is actually really good, not gonna lie. I really like it. Plus, it's absolutely disgusting in this deck if you check Overtrigger on a Flower Fairy turn, because, well, not Flower Fairy turn, if you do it on a Sandrine turn, as you have already 3 crit from Sandrine's skill on force 2. This turns it to 4 crit with an Overtrigger. If they did not PG, they are dead. Like, unless they're at like 1 damage, which you want to be rushing with this deck anyhow, so I don't know why I keep them at 1 damage. It's disgusting. It's it's so bad, and I feel so bad whenever I check this on drive check, because not only are you doing it once with Sandrine, you're doing it twice, because if you have the Asha as a heart card, the flower fairy inherits everything from Sandrine because of the Asha heart card. So not only are you hitting them with this disgusting power column once, you're hitting them with it twice. It's like you're checking 2 over triggers, basically. And yeah, you gotta run over triggers in premium, unless you're doing Ultima. And then, of course, the card that everyone, the type of card that everyone's been getting, they are the Heal Guardians. Now, the Heal Guardians are very, very nice. I should probably go over them. Of course, they are a 15k shield, as opposed to the regular 20k shield for the regular V heal triggers, and they have effects as heal triggers. So, if you put this card on Guardian Circle from hand, if you did not ride a grade 3 or greater this fight, you perform one of the following. You can either give your Vanguard plus 10,000 power until the end of the turn, so it's a static plus 10k for the rest of the turn during the opponent's battle phase, or you choose one of your opponent's units and it gets crit -2 until the end of that battle. So you can either choose to nullify damage, or you can choose to give yourself extra power towards the early game. Now that's quite nice in and of itself. It's very nice defensive options that I believe should be run in most decks. That's just my opinion. Some decks maybe you don't need to. You'd actually want to run regular V heal triggers, such as in Grand Blue, as I believe the V heal trigger in that is a ghosty. So Beatrice gives it an extra 5k, allowing you to get 25k intercepts. So that's a case of you wouldn't want to run Heal Guardians, but for the most part, most decks are going to be running Heal Guardians, mainly also for the second effect. When this unit is placed on rear guard circle from hand, if your damage has no cards, put the top card of your deck into your damage zone. Now, it's not a damage check, it's literally just take a card, put it in the damage zone. So if your opponent damage denies you, you can still play. You can still use your effects, you still have a counterblast to work with. Most decks only really need 1, maybe 2 counterblasts to really get things going with their deck. Things such as, like, Gabrielle only need that 1 damage, and then they can just start doing what Gabrielle does best. But yeah, that's our trigger lineup. Next up, we're going to go into our grade 1s, and there's not a lot to talk about with the grade 1s. It's fairly standard grade 1 lineup for this, for the Asha deck. 4 Sweet Berry, 4 Flower Carpet, and then 4 Padmini. That's all I run for my grade 1 lineup. Padmini, of course, for being a grade 3 searcher, plus if you have extra plant tokens on board, a lot of the time you probably won't. It gets plus 10k anyhow, so it's a 13k booster. That's quite nice. Okay, next, then Flower Carpet. It's a free plant token, 1 place, and then you can also bounce it back to hand from drop if you have 2 plant tokens. You just retire those. You get a 10k shield back from hand, or you get something to produce more plant tokens. And then Sweet Berry, it's another free plant token generator. You get the Soul Charge, which is kinda nice with Asha's skill requiring a Soul Blast. Also, Lindros Premier looks at Soul, and Lieta looks at Soul as well. So with the more cards in Soul, it's nice to have. It's a good card. Sweet Berry is a very good card in this deck, just for the plant token stuff. It's also a 13k booster if you're on grade 3 or greater. So most of the time, not most of the time, we're going to be a grade 3 or greater once we actually hit the Asha turns. So it's a 13k booster. It's very nice to have. Grade 2 lineup. Next up, we got, I'll go over some of the staples first. Of course, we're running Sylvia. It's the card it's free plant token generation. Just, you place it, you get a plant token, no ifs, ands, or buts. You need to be running this in this Asha deck where we need plant tokens to basically do everything in it. All of our effects rely around plant tokens. That's why, if you don't have Sylvia's, go and pick them up. You can. They just got reprinted in Revival Selection, I believe, and that's where I got mine from. So just go and pick these up. They should be relatively cheap right now. Next up, we are running. Now this might be weird, but I'm only running 2 Bad Boy Wildcats. Now you might be thinking, why are you only running 2? And it's because I don't have space for more than 2. So Bad Boy Wildcat, their effect. So on Rearguard Circle, you can retire this unit called 2 plant tokens Rearguard Circle. Very nice effect. Almost, it costs no counter blast, it costs no soul blast. The entire point is to just drop it, retire it, get 2 plant tokens. It itself feeds the Sandrian skill if you have counter blast. It's nice to have. So yeah, I would run more if I had space, but in my opinion, I believe these next 2 cards are worth running at 4. So I'm gonna go over Fallvine first. We're gonna go over the 4 copies of Maiden of Fallvine. So Maiden of Fallvine's effect: if you overcall this on top of a plant token, draw 1, she gets plus 5k until the end of turn. So it's a 15k attacker, gets you a card from hand, gets you a card to hand, which could possibly be another plant token generator, and then you can just start spiraling down, not spiraling down, snowballing from there. That's why I run it at 4. It helps us dig into our deck, look for more pieces, and just get more cards in hand for shield. And then the last grade 2 that I run is 4 copies of Maiden of Nephistus. Now, you might be really wondering why I'm running this card at 4, when I could cut it down to 2, maybe run 2 more Walgakis. I think this card should be run at 4 because of the boost skill. What about the boost skill is that? So, active Vanguard Rearguard Circle. Once per turn, retire a plant token, draw a card, and in turn this unit gets boost and plus 5k. So this is a 15k booster. Now you're thinking, yeah, that's fine. 15k booster, okay, but why is it worth running at 4? And it's because of its second effect, as you can see. When this unit boosts a grade 3 rearguard, you may have the boosted unit get critical plus 1 until the end of the battle. If you do, at the end of the battle, put this unit into soul. So what you can do with this is, with one of our backup grade 3s as we see later, we could make that into a 28k column with 2 crit. And then if you ride another Asha again, that's 3 crit on 28k power. That's very good pressure already, even just with the 2 crit. And since you can only really use this once before it goes to soul, that's why I run this card at 4. And I've had pretty good results on it. I've been doing most of my testing on CFA, and I've had a pretty good win rate with this, running this card at 4 with this deck in general. Next up, we're going to go over the grade 3 lineup. So I'm going to go over grade 3 first. 4 copies of Dream Spinning Ranunculus Asha. So, Dream Spinning Ranunculus Asha. This, let's go over its effects. So, first effect, yeah, it's not really going to turn up all too often because you're going to be striding over her anyhow. But it's a continuous on Vanguard Circle during your turn. If you have 2 or more units with Asha in their card name, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. If you have 3 or more units, it gets critical plus 1. So, it's counting herself. And then you're also going to have one from the Flower Fairy, and then you're going to have a second one from the other Asha that we call as a secondary grade 2 unit, secondary grade 3 unit, as well as a attacker to be boosted by Nephistus. And then, of course, second effect, act on Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, Soul Blast 1, retire 2 rear guards, call an Asha's Flower Fairy token to Rearguard Circle. That is our main attacker, aside from the Asha. So yeah, of course you want to be running there at 4, not only for just so you can always get to her, but also for ultimate striding, which we are running the Zoa in this deck. I run 2 copies of the Ranunculus Flower Maiden Asha, the retrain for the V series. Her effects are fine. When placed on Vanguard Rearguard Circle, counter plus 1, call up to 2 plant tokens. Rearguard Circle, this unit gets plus 10k into the end of that turn, so it becomes, when boosted by Nephistus, it becomes a 38k column with 2 crit. Very, very nice. And then, if you need to, we can use it, her second effect. Act on Vanguard Circle once per turn. Sorry, 3 rear guards, call an Ashes Flower Fairy token the rear guard circle. We only do that if we ride into her, and the only time we ride into her is if we have no other grade 3s in hand. We never want to be riding this card. We only want to be calling her as a rear guard. And then for the last card in the main deck, I run 1 copy of Stain of Stand Peony. It's more of a tech than anything. I guess you could also replace her for 1 more copy of Wildcatty, but it's when you run out of Sandrines, it's good to not good, but it's a nice option to have. Being able to extend into 5 total attacks. It's a good option to have if you see your opponent's fairly high on cards in hand and you really need to end it. If you have her in hand, ride her, do her 5 attack combo skill, should be able to maybe squeeze out a win there, but it's more of a tech than it. Alright, time for the G zone. So I'm gonna go over G guards first. So I'll run 1 copy of Kostrina. And of course, Kostrina's skill is GB1, counterblast 1, choose a face down G guard from G zone, turn it face up. That battle, this unit gets plus 5k shield. Choose up 1 card from your hand, call it trigger guard circle. If you have 2 or more units with the same card name, it's called units. Unit gets plus 10,000 shield. So it can be a 30k shield. A lot of the time it won't. Mainly because you're either going to be calling maybe an Hephaestus, maybe a plant token generator. Yeah, a lot of times you'd be calling a plant token generator just so that way you can possibly build up, get more cards on field for another G guards effect, as we'll see later. I'll go over them now. Antero. There are 2 copies. It is the best G guard that me and Nectar has. So, at least in my opinion. So, Antero's effect. Auto. Soul Blast. Soul Blast 1. If this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, you repay the cost. If you do it till the end of battle, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield. Then, if the number of your rearguards is 1 or less, or 4 or more, this unit gets another 15,000 shield on top of that. So this, in total, could be a 35k shield if we only have the Flower Fairy, or if we have 4 rearguards. And the easiest way to do that is, of course, Kostrina, place something, gets place plant token generator, preferably one that gets it on place and not a Wildcatty. Then you got a plant token. There you go, you're at 3 already. If you already had an extra booster, let's say behind your Vanguard, now you're at 4. There you go. That turns on Antero's secondary guard effect, and then you have a 35k shield. Right? Yeah, 35k shield. Next up, we got 1 copy of Rain Breath Dragon. Rain Breath Dragon skill. This unit placed on Guardian Circle, choose up to 1 card from your hand called the Rearguard Circle. Until the end of that turn, that unit gets continuous on Rearguard or Guardian Circle. It has resist. If you called a card, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield until the end of that battle. So it becomes a 20k shield if you call something, which is okay. Normally, this is the card that we're going to be flipping up from Kostrina's skill, but it can work. It gives something. It allows you to get a interceptor on board that can have can stop guard breaking. Alrighty, next up we have the last G guard is Verna. So Verna's skill, when this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, choose 1 of your rear guards, and this unit gets plus 5k for each of the other units, same card name as that unit until the end of that battle. So this becomes a 25k shield if you have a Flower Fairy token on field. That's about it. It's quite nice to have. It's one of our other higher G guards. But yeah. Alrighty. Next up, I still run 1 copy of Cyclone, even though Tempest Sphere got banned and Zazan got banned. I run 1 copy of it just because of one specific matchup, and it was a Gridora matchup. They locked me out of calling things not from hand. So I was stuck with only the plant tokens I had on field at that time, and I didn't want to retire them. So what was I going to do? Like, going into Sandrine's basically a waste, because, like, you know, I only had plant tokens on field. So I was like, okay, what if I strode into Cyclone? Now suddenly, those plant tokens have a lot more power in them. Yeah, it's a tech. You could probably switch this out for some other cards. I'm blanking on anything you can switch out right now, but Cyclone is fine for right now. Although if I were to switch something out, Cyclone would be the first thing to go, but I find it fine to keep it kept in the G zone for right now. Okay, next up we have 4 copies of our main stride, Sandrine. So, Sandrine's skill is quite possibly one of my favorite skills in the entire game. So it's active in G zone. In this unit, if this card, my deck, is face down, and you or your opponent's Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, cost counterblast 1, retire 2 token units, and stride this card from Vanguard circle. This unit gets plus 10k power and 1 crit until the end of turn. It is a superior stride skill, and I love it. This card is one of my favorites in the entire game. It looks super good, its effect is absolutely amazing, and yeah. Although I will say, I feel like we need something new in the next premium collection. Sandrine's great and all, but we need more attack extenders in this deck, man. We only make 3 attacks if we're not going into Stand Peony. And yeah, those attacks are big, but it's still only 3 attacks. So, yeah. But anyhow, so yeah, this is what allows our Asha's Flower Fairy token to become absolutely massive and have massive pressure from 3 crit on Force 2 and the extra crit from Sandrine. Yeah, so of course you won't be running that at 4. Next stride, I run 2 copies of Lieta. I run 2 copies because her skill requires another copy of herself. So Lieta's skill, act once per turn on Vanguard circle, counterblast 1, choose face down card with the same card name as this unit from G zone, turn it face up. Then, choose up to 1 card from your hand, put it into your soul. This unit gets the card names of all cards in your soul. Then, you search your deck for up to the number of face up cards in G zone plus 1 of cards with the same card name as this unit. That's her heart, and then everything in the soul. And then you call those units from the deck to empty rearguard circles and shuffle your deck. Number of cards in your G zone is 2 or more. Choose 3 of your units and they get plus 2k until the end of that battle. So it's a okay stride to go into if you have an empty board. So you go into her, Persona, flip her over, call a bunch of cards, and then Superior Stride into Sandrine becomes a 40k, a 40k unit with 3 crit. You really only going to want to do that if you don't have a Flower Fairy, because if you have a Flower Fairy, you lose the copy effect from the Asha heart, as you no longer have an Asha heart, you have a Lieta heart. So that's really only if your board gets absolutely wiped and you're going into stride step. So it's mainly a second stride. It's never going to be your first stride. Your first stride is pretty much always going to be Sandrine. Next up, I run 1 copy of Velhema, mainly because of its GB4 skill. All your rearguards in your front row get power plus 5k and crit plus 1 till the end of the turn. It's like a late card. It's a card going late into the game if you run out of Sandrines, which once again hardly ever happens, but it's an okay stride to go into just to give your front row a good old power boost. Second effect we don't really use. Choose a face down card from G zone, turn it face up, and counterblast 1. Machine attacks, pay the cost. If you do, search deck, grab 2 grade 2 or less normal units with the Bloom ability and card name and the same card, call the separate regard circles on front row and back row, shuffle your deck. None of the cards in our deck have Bloom, so that first effect's absolutely useless. Like I said, we only run Velhema for its GB4 skill if we ever need to go into another stride that isn't Lieta or Sandrine. And of course, 1 copy of Lindros Premier. Lindros Premier is our GB8 unit, so her skill is choose 3 normal units from drop zone, return them to your deck, When this unit attacks Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your units. Search deck for up to 3 cards with the same card name as the unit. Call them separate rearguard circles. And the units called with this effect get. The units with this card and units called with this effect and this unit, so her herself also, get plus 10,000 power for each called unit until the end of the turn. Shuffle your deck. So that's 30k to each of the called units. Now normally what you're going to want to do with this is you're going to want to call Happy Lucky with this. You're going to want to keep a Happy Lucky in hand. If you see, you're probably going to be able to get to GB8, and then that is 30,000 power from Happy Lucky, from calling the 3 Happy Luckies. And then from each of the Happy Luckies, you're getting an additional, I need to double check the power, an additional 10k, so that's an extra 30k. So that's 60k from all of the Happy Luckies. And then, so that's already bringing us to 75k without the heart. With the heart, it's going to be 88k. From there, like check trigger. So we're going to be at 2 triggers already. We're at 78k. No, 88k with 2 triggers. That Asha's Flower Fairy token is going to be absolutely stacked if we check any other triggers, and it's great. It's a good, like I said, if you get to GB8, you might as well have one already. And of course, 1 Megaloma. Megaloma is here just to see if, oh, it looks like we might die. Let's go ahead and stride into Megaloma, so that way we can survive an extra turn, and then plus we can stride for free after that, which normally it's not an issue since we superior stride anyhow. But yeah, Megaloma's there's the safety blanket card. And then finally, last card in the G-Zone is 1 copy of Zoa. So Zoa is a good, it's a tool to have. We don't go into it all that much. So Zoa is an ultimate stride, so you can only stride when you have, when you discard a card with the same card name as your Vanguard, and you have 3 or more face of G-Zone, card in the G-Zone. And then of course, if you don't win that turn, your G-Zone goes bye-bye. So, Zoa's actual effect, Counterblast 2. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card, choose a card from your hand, call it to Vanguard Circle, until the end of the turn, it gets the continuous effect on Vanguard Circle. This unit cannot be chosen by card effects. And its power becomes 99,999 constantly. And it's as well as the second effect on Vanguard Circle. When this unit deals damage to your opponent's Vanguard, your opponent loses. So basically, if you see that they've already done 4 PGs, and you feel like you can end it there, or if you feel like they don't have any PGs in hand, stride to Zoa, call a rear guard, let's say call something random, just something you have in hand. Swing with Zoa, that's a 38 with 2 crits, which will then be inherited by your Flower Fairy. 38, 2 crit, plus whatever triggers you get. They will want to guard both of those attacks because those are 2 critical attacks. Maybe more if you check critical triggers. Okay, they've done that. Now what do? Swing with the called unit that you called from Zoa's skill. And then if that attack goes through, they lose. But yeah, that is the deck, of course. I guess we can go over tokens. Quick Shield, Plant tokens, Flower Fairy tokens. I have 2 of them because we can get up to 2. And then we have Force 2 markers. You can Force 1 is fine in this deck. It can work, but I'm running Force 2 markers for that crit pressure. But yeah. So, yeah, thank you all so very much for watching this. This took a lot longer than I wanted it to. I really wanted to get this out earlier for BRO Premium, but my cards got lost in the mail, so I wasn't able to build this deck in person until just now, because I just got the cards today. But anyhow, I'm gonna be rambling now, so I'm just gonna end it here. If you haven't watched the Kamen Rider Fandom video, I'm gonna go ahead and posting that iCard up there in the upper right hand corner. Follow the socials linked in the description down below. Here's my Twitter. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.